Welcome to Detroit, Michigan, and the world's largest auto show, the North American International Auto Show. And I'm here with John Rosevear. This is a very special edition of Motor Money, and we are going to wrap up an exciting day one here in Detroit. And right out of the gate, first thing this morning, almost before it got light, Ford had a big press conference.
8:10 a.m. at the Joe Louis Arena, which is where, you know, they play hockey in Detroit, a big arena. Ford took the place over and unveiled the 2015 F-150. There's one behind us. An elaborate event. All of Ford's brass spoke, really. Started with Bill Ford, then Alan Mulally, then Mark Fields, Chief Operating Officer, Joe Hendricks, who's Chief of North America, and Raj Nair, who led the design and development of the truck.
And it was really a state of the company address, and
yeah.
we will actually, in the coming days, we'll show you what they said, but I found it very entertaining.
Yeah, it was, 20 minutes. Here is the state of Ford, here's where we're going, and oh, by the way, here's our great new pickup, and let's talk about that. After the presentation, we had some time to sort of poke around the trucks. This truck behind us is locked, but that was fairly recent. We actually sat in it earlier. And we've had a good look at the trucks, and we've poked around them. We've talked to some of the people involved behind them. And here's what we can tell you. I mean, from the outside, it looks fairly conservative. It looks like a Ford truck, but in reality, it's much more complicated. It's much more radical than that. They've made extensive use of advanced materials. You've probably heard by now the body panels are aluminum, a high-strength aluminum alloy. I'll tell you that I've knocked on them and poked on them. They don't feel like beer cans. They feel quite sturdy.
You couldn't smash it against your head.
No, not easily. The frames of the trucks are made up much more high-strength steel. High-strength steel alloy makes them stronger and lighter. Lighter is a theme here. Some versions of the new F-150 will be 700 pounds lighter. That's how you get more performance and more fuel economy, and incidentally better handling, although that's not a priority for many truck owners, all at the same time, is to make the vehicle lighter. And Ford has really pushed to make it lighter here. Ford Chief Operating Officer Mark Fields told them that the new trucks will be so fuel efficient that they will actually help Ford's corporate average fuel economy rather than holding them back. So this is something big. We don't have specific numbers for you, but this is a big deal for them.
You know who else was excited? Alcoa.
Alcoa was definitely excited. Yeah, Alcoa is supplying the aluminum here. We were tweeting about the event earlier on Twitter, and they quickly favorited us.
Me and John.
Yeah, we're new friends of Alcoa because we're talking about the trucks. But they're clearly, I mean, they're a major supplier to Ford, a major part of this project as well, and very big presence here, even if it isn't really spoken about so much.
Okay, and so your very quick, high-level wrap-up of the F-150, did it hit the mark?
It sure looks the part. Looks like a Ford truck. I think buyers will be pleased. We will see how this plays out. You know, we talked to Edmunds analyst Jessica Caldwell, and she and I were kind of on the same page with this, which is it's hard to tell how the marketplace will receive this truck. It's not going to be out till the fourth quarter of 2014, but certainly I think it will sell on the fuel economy numbers. We haven't seen those. We haven't seen the pricing yet, but there's a lot of high-tech features in this new truck. They've really taken it a bigger step forward than GM took last year with the new Silverado and GMC Sierra. That could play out very well for them. If the trucks are out in the market a few months and the buyers think that these new aluminum panels and so forth seem to be perfectly durable and perfectly Ford truck worthy, I think it will do very well.
And through the miracle of videotape, we're actually taking you on a tour around Cobo Hall here at some of the displays. Another big announcement today was made right here on this stage as Chrysler unveiled the 200, which obviously a little bit smaller size than the 300. And John, you were right here in attendance. What'd you think?
Well, this takes the place of the old Chrysler 200, which is the renamed old Chrysler Sebring sedan. Goes back, its roots go back several years, the existing car. It wasn't considered very good when it came out. Fiat, when they came in 2009, gave it sort of a quickie overhaul that actually made it a little more competitive model, but this new one is a complete rethink from the ground up. They've thrown a lot of interesting technology into this. Its bones come from an Alfa Romeo. Remember that Fiat and Chrysler are in the process of merging and becoming one company, and they've been run as one business for a while now, but they've expanded it and stretched it and made it, Americanized the basic platform and done all sorts of new technology in here. There's a 9-speed automatic transmission standard in every model. There's an optional V6 that has 295 horsepower, which is big power for a car in this class. It has an available all-wheel drive system, but it's innovative. The all-wheel drive system turns into a front-wheel drive system. It disconnects the rear axle when you don't need all-wheel drive. That saves you gas. There's less resistance in the system, and it gets more fuel economy and so forth. The interior is very nice. A lot of soft leather, perforated leather seats in the models we looked at. Some interesting use of wood trim and so forth. We'll show you some pictures. Overall, I mean, an impressive package. The styling is very different. And this is the one thing that makes me question its prospects a little bit. It doesn't look bad at all. It's a pretty car, but where Chrysler has had success in the past is with really bold, dramatic designs. Remember when the 300C came out? Those things, you know, the Dodge Intrepids of the 90s. They didn't look like anything else on the road. This car, it's pretty, it's striking, it has a lot of thoughtful high-tech features, it has a lot of power, it might drive very well, but it's kind of anonymous looking, and I'm wondering if that will lead people to overlook it. But, you know, obviously we haven't driven it, but it has certainly the pieces of what could be a very promising package for them, but we'll see how it plays out.
So with that in mind now, how important is this mid-size segment to Chrysler?
If you're selling cars, this is where the volume is in the United States. After the big pickups, if you look at the best-selling vehicles in the U.S., it's all sedans. It's the Camry, it's the Accord, it's the Nissan Altima, it's the Ford Fusion. It's this size of car. Now, Chrysler is playing maybe at more of the premium end of the market, but they're going to be selling in real life against cars like the Ford Fusion and so forth here. It's tight, it's competitive, it's fierce, and a lot of cars get sold every month. So, you know, Chrysler has not sold a lot of cars in this category in recent times. If they start selling more, any more they sell, that's good for them.
And now we move to the Toyota display, and behind us, Toyota today unveiled something a little new and different for them.
This is a lot new and different. This is the FT1 concept. You can see it behind us. It's a wild-looking sports car. Now, this is a concept car, which means we don't know if they're going to build it. Toyota wouldn't tell us what kind of powertrain it might have, what kind of engine, how it would be propelled, really much of anything about it. It is thought that this could foreshadow a future Toyota Supra. They did say it was front engine and rear wheel drive, or would be if they decided to build it. This was created by some designers working in the Sony PlayStation Gran Turismo video game thing.
You tell me some teenagers that are playing video games?
No, I don't think they're teenagers. I think they're actual real design folks. I think they're the crew right over there, in fact. Okay. But yeah, this is part of what Toyota CEO Akio Toyoda has talked about. Wanting to put more soul and passion in Toyota's products. He said things like, I want to do some cars that don't look like they were designed by a huge, boring committee. And I will say this car behind us, this is not a beige Camry, okay? This is a very different kind of vehicle. So this is the way in which the company will, bubble up some of that spirit. Will they actually build this or not? I don't know, but it's a very striking and dramatic car.
And now we move over to the Chevrolet area, and I thought this one was rather an exciting debut, actually. They had live video of this vehicle being delivered here, and it is now behind us, and it is
the Chevrolet Corvette Z06. This is a new trim line. Well, it revives a trim line that's been part of the Corvette lineup for several years. We saw the all-new, the 7th generation Corvette, the Stingray, the base model, was introduced a year ago at last year's North American International Auto Show. Rolled out midsummer. It has been it's put up some nice sales numbers, got great reviews for its handling, its sort of sophistication, its build quality. This is the next level up. This is the beast. This is the track dog. This is the monster. This has a supercharged engine. The old Z06 had a 7-liter naturally aspirated engine. This is a 6.2 with a supercharger. GM's incoming new global product chief, Mark Royce, said this morning that it will have at least 625 horsepower. So this is a car in the range of the old ZR1, which was a supercar, $120,000 supercar, the last generation Corvette. This car, they said, GM officials said today, this has already beaten the old ZR1's track numbers. We don't know how much it's going to cost. We don't know what kind of fuel economy it's going to get. We don't know that much about it, other than it looks really mean and fierce. And it is not a quiet car. They drove it out. It sounds like you'd expect a serious track dog Corvette to sound. We do know that it's going to go into production production at the very end of the year and start arriving at dealers just about a year from now, early in the first quarter of next year. So that's what we know.
And also interesting today, they kind of had a sweep. Not only was this the North American Car of the Year, it won that award today, they had the Truck of the Year as well?
Yeah, they every year at the North American International Auto Show, the North American Car and Truck of the Year are awarded, and it was a Chevy sweep today. The Corvette Stingray, last year's model, won in the car category, and the Chevy Silverado won for the trucks. So they had a good day here. All the GM brass was here this morning. You know, it's interesting, the vibe of the show here, being here, Ford has really dominated the day. The new trucks really dominated the day. General Motors has had a relatively subdued presence in comparison. I mean, Ford is everywhere here. GM has been somewhat toned down in comparison, but they did hit it big with the awards this morning, and they did have a lot of fun rolling out this vet. You know, we had Dan Ammon, the incoming GM president, former GM chief financial officer, and Mark Royce here rolling this out, and those guys were having a lot of fun. They clearly love this car.
And moving right along now to the Honda area, and we have an all-new Fit.
The 2015 Honda Fit. This is a redesign of Honda's subcompact. Globally, this is a really important car for them. In the US, it's kind of outshadowed somewhat in terms of sales numbers by the Accord and the Civic, but it's still significant. This is the entry-level Honda. It's a fun subcompact. They've redesigned it. They've given it what they think is a little edgier, sportier styling. It's got the new corporate grille, which is kind of a love it or hate it thing you see in the photos. The interior, they've stepped it up a little in line with what we've seen from other automakers on their inexpensive compact and subcompact offerings over the last few years. They've stepped it up a little bit in design. It's not just cheap plastic everywhere. There are some high-tech features that sells to younger buyers in this category and so forth. It's got an optional touchscreen system and some other stuff in it. What it does have that some subcompacts lack is quite a bit of room in the back seat, actually. It's a roomy back seat. It's not a revolutionary redesign. They took a little weight out of it. It's got a new 1.5-liter VTEC engine. The cars we see in the U.S. will be built in an all-new Honda factory in Mexico. Evolutionary, not revolutionary, a little bit of a different look, but pretty much the same old Fit, which is good because people seem to really like this.
All right, so that wraps up day number 1 from the North American International Auto Show in Detroit. Thanks for joining us for this special edition of Motor Money, and be sure to tune in tomorrow when we'll wrap up day 2.